Hey everybody, it's Dak here from the Ed Boys, and welcome to my OSRS Pest Control guide. I can't say that Pest Control is very popular with very many players, but it is the only way to get your Void armor, so most players still do have to sit through it. Pest Control is very easy to do, and as long as everybody that's involved has a basic idea of what they're doing, it can actually be fairly fast to get some of the best gear in the game. As always, I'm going to start with the requirements for Pest Control, though that's going to be a very brief section. Next, we'll talk about what to wear and then how to get there. Afterwards, I'll discuss how the minigame works and what you should be doing, hopefully, to help your team out the most. Finally, we'll talk about the rewards and how long it's going to take you to get your Void gear. The only requirements to do Pest Control is 40 combat. There's 3 different levels of Pest Control, easy, medium, and hard. To get into the easy boat, you do need that 40 combat, which is pretty easy, but also gets less reward points for the lower level, and not as many people play the boat, so you're not going to get as many rounds in. It's highly suggested to wait for the 100 combat to use the high level boat for getting your Void. First of all, if you're less than 100 combat, you probably aren't rushing Void, but it's also much faster to get it done with the high level boat, so you might as well wait. Pest Control is a safe minigame, which means you will not lose anything in here, including your hardcore status, and you'll need some sort of combat gear, but having best in slot gear really isn't needed, so let's just move on to the gear section. What exactly you wear at Pest Control is not a big deal. You won't be fighting any bosses or anything like that, and there's always going to be other players doing some damage too. So if you don't have the best in slot gear, you're going to be fine. In general, I like to bring my top melee gear because most melee gear doesn't really require any charges. Using magic is a waste of runes, and range is a little more costly, especially if you're using a blowpipe. Feel free to laugh at any player you see in Pest Control using a blowpipe or bursting magic spells, though in my example footage, I'm going to be using a magma helm, which is a little bit of a waste of scales, so feel free to laugh at me too. If everybody's doing a little bit more damage, then the round goes a little bit faster, but if everyone was just using a whip, they would still do fine as long as you're fighting the right things. Bringing full Darox is pretty popular since it is a safe death and you could rock Cake down to low health and crank on some monsters. It's a little more expensive since you have to repair your armor, but everyone has a little different budget. Here's a look at the gear that I'll be wearing in the example footage. You are going to notice the bad prayer gear that I'm rocking. I do use piety during the round since your prayer points restore afterwards. You don't have to use any prayer potions, and I'm a noob with only Initiate at the moment. Proselyte's much better for your prayer gear, but it's not a big deal in this situation since you are not using any prayer potions. There's no doubt if you do more damage, then you're going to be more helpful for your team, but just killing random things doesn't really help either, so it's more important to be smart rather than have the best gear here. Pest Control is located on its own island known as the Void Knight's Outpost. To get to the outpost, make your way to Port Sarum and find this squire who's going to take you there. There's also a Pest Control minigame teleport, which I'm not 100% sure if you have to travel there once to use it or not, but even if it doesn't let you use it the first time you try, I just explained to you how to get there. Once you're on the island, it's pretty easy to get into a round. First of all, you have a bank here for any of your banking needs, and here's the easy, medium, and hard boats. Choose the highest level boat that you can get in and get on board. You need 5 players to start a round. The official world for Pest Control is 344, and with 5+ people, you need to wait a minute for the round to start. But if the boat gets to 25 people, it's going to start immediately. With more than 25 players in a boat, you might get left behind. It's going to happen occasionally, but really is not that big of a deal, especially if you're on the veteran boat. Once a round starts, you'll be sent to the island, and it's time to fight. The arena is not very large. Right in the center, you're going to have a Void Knight who is very much on your side, and there's 4 portals around the island that will constantly be spawning monsters, or in other words, pests, and I'll go over each monster in just a minute. These monsters will be trying to kill you or the Void Knight for the most part, and if the Void Knight dies, you lose the round. There are 2 ways to win the round. If your Void Knight survives for 20 minutes, the round will end and you win. I have personally played Runescape for like half my life, and I've never heard of a Pest Control round lasting for 20 minutes, so you likely won't be doing this. The other way to win is by destroying all 4 portals. When the round begins, each portal will be shielded, so you can't just attack a random portal at the beginning of the round. You gotta wait a second. The Void Knight's gonna slowly be knocking down those shields for each portal, 1 portal at a time. Once a portal shield has been dropped, everybody should for the most part go pile on that portal and destroy it. Really the only reason to attack a monster rather than a portal is if it's a spinner, which we can start the monsters section of the guide with. A spinner kind of looks like a jellyfish, and they can heal the portals. Not just heal the portals, but they will heal them fairly quickly, especially if there's multiple spinners out at a time. It's important to target the spinners as soon as you see one spawn. It's possible to outdamage spinners even with enough players, but it does take a few people to do a lot of damage, and at this point, if you have that many people, 2 or 3 of you could just attack the spinner and it would be dead in a second. Sometimes you might have to make a judgment call, which is scary for some folks. If you and 2 other guys just can't seem to kill the portal, maybe you should kill the spinner. If you and 10 other people are running towards the last portal with people already there, then the spinners are really screwed at that point. You can just out-damage them. There's honestly very few times where attacking a spinner is just a bad idea though. When a portal is destroyed, if any of the spinners that were spawned are still alive, they will explode and poison people around. It's not a big deal overall, but if you notice the spinners are around right as the portal goes down, you could run away and quickly avoid it. The Runelight plugin will highlight spinners for you, but it's really not that hard to keep your eye out for them. The Brawlers are the powerhouse pests. These are large gorilla-like creatures that have the purpose of defending the portals. They will not heal the portals like the spinners do, but they will target players who are attacking the portal. They've got more health than other monsters, and they're basically tanks. You can't walk around them either like other monsters. If you've seen the ape guards at the temple and Ape Atoll and you know how these work, even if you click on the other side of a brawler, your character's not going to run around it. You have to make sure to run around the brawler yourself, which is a little annoying, but it's really easy, so whatever. The Torture will use a magic attack and has a main goal of attacking the Void Knight. The mage attacks have long range, so they don't really need to get that close to the Knight to start doing damage. These things are very weak and easy to do damage to. They're fairly high priority to kill since they're going for the Knight, but you shouldn't stop attacking the portal or a spinner obviously just to go knock one of these out. Priority number 2 is protecting the Knight though, and these are headed for him. Shifters are a really strange monster. They can not only teleport around themselves, but they can teleport other monsters around too, which is kind of annoying. They do a lot of melee damage, and it just makes them dangerous since they could just head right to the Void Knight and start hitting it hard. If you have any chance to KO one of these, especially early in the game when there's not as many monsters, it doesn't hurt. Mostly players should be focused on killing the portals, which is likely what you'll be doing, but if the Void Knight's taking a lot of damage, there's a good chance some of these jerks have teleported over there and they're fighting the Knight. The Defiler might have a bit of a terrifying name, but they're easy to kill overall. They use some range attacks, very similar to the Torture, but they're not insanely high priority, and they're easy to do some damage to. The Splatter is the simplest job of all pests. He's just a kamikaze pilot that tries to destroy the doors and barriers by blowing himself up. Even if you kill a Splatter, it's going to blow up, which will hit you and everything else in the area. I tend to ignore these things since it's pretty annoying to take damage, but they're pretty weak if you do need something to fight early on. The Ravager is like a little mole that walks on 2 legs and it has Wolverine claws. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if this is what the actual animal looks like. Not like Logan Wolverine, but the actual animal. They're similar to the Splatter. They're aiming for the barriers and doors, making it easier for other monsters to get to the Void Knight. They're not a very high priority overall, but again, they're easy to kill if you need to fight something as soon as possible. So now you've gotten off the boat, you know about all the monsters, but what exactly should you be doing? Run over to any portal. I usually navigate to the blue eastern portal, but it doesn't matter that much. You do have an activity bar, which is watching how much damage you do. If you go a long time without doing any damage, the bar is going to turn red, and no matter what you do for the rest of the match, you're not getting any reward points when the round is over. Make sure you're always getting some damage in, especially early on when there's not a lot of monsters to fight. The monsters are spawning from the portals, so staying near a portal is going to help you find more things to kill. There are 2 meters on your top left showing the amount of damage you've done, which is now kind of useless since they changed how the activity bar works, and you have a void symbol which shows how much health the Knight has left. I do advocate for spending most of your time piling the portals, but if your team is losing a few matches in a row, that means nobody at all is protecting the Knight, and you might need to step up. Also, when a portal dies, it does heal the Void Knight for 50 health, so don't run away from a near-dead portal just to go save the Knight. 15 seconds into the match, one of the shields will fall. You should run over that portal and start cranking on it immediately. Each portal does have a different weakness, so technically having a gear switch would make this more efficient, but if 5 or 6 people are on the portal, it's not going to take long to KO it. And if you've got 10 plus people on a portal, you're going to be out of there in a heartbeat. They do have 250 health in the veteran boat. If you're on the opposite side of the arena when the shield goes down, you could wait for the next one. I don't always trust everyone is going to pile that portal though, so I like to try and make my contribution ASAP. There's only a few orders that the shields can fall in, and if you have the Runelight plugin to help you predict the shield going down next, that makes it pretty easy, but I don't really put a ton of effort into this. It can save a little bit of time being right at the portal as the shield drops, but overall, as long as you're headed there, you guys will be done quick. There are symbols showing each portal if they have their shield still and how much health is remaining. Again, when a portal goes down, it's going to heal the Knight for 50 health, and really that's all the basics of the fight. Once the final portal is killed, the round's going to end and you get your reward points. 5 from the veteran boat, 4 from the intermediate, and 3 from the beginner boat. If the Void Knight died or you were too inactive, you're not going to get any points. Either way, you should just start spam clicking on the plank, try to get back into the game, and do it all over again. If you have any questions about how the actual minigame works at this point, then you should leave them in the comments section below so I can get back to you as soon as possible. The reward system for Pest Control is pretty straightforward, though I'm about to throw a bunch of numbers out there for the speed of the rounds, so if you're just looking for the amount of hours it's going to take to get your gear, you might want to skip, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute. As I believe I've mentioned before, you get 3 points for the win in low level, 4 for medium, and 5 for the veteran boat. It can vary how long a pest control match takes, but at 1 minute and 45 seconds into each match, you're guaranteed that all 4 portals have their shields down. So if you're doing well and you're killing the portals right as the shield goes down, we can assume right around 2 minutes per win on your fastest matches. If the team is having trouble killing portals, then it shouldn't take very long to finish it either way. It's not like you have a lot of damage to do, or the knight probably is going to fall by then if you're having too much difficulty. We're going to say around 2 to 3 minutes per win, and of course there's time between each match. Often it's only a few seconds, and if you don't get into the match right away, it's rarely more than like 30 seconds to get in. So we're looking at maybe 2.5 to 3.5 minutes per win, which is 17 to 24 wins per hour. You're not guaranteed to win every match, so let's say the minimum is more like 12 wins an hour, which honestly means that either not many people are online right now because you're playing at like 4 a.m. or you've got some shite teammates, which does happen sometimes. 12 to 24 wins per hour adds up to 60 to 100 points per hour as long as you're on the veteran boat. If you're using either of the other boats, you're going to have to plug your own numbers in. This is kind of my way to motivate you to go get your combat up. An average of 100 points per hour is not that unreasonable to think you're going to get. We've got a handful of things that you can buy from these points though in the shop, including some supplies, some XP, or some Void Knight equipment. The supplies and XP are mostly useless, though I believe that the Prayer XP might be the best for Ultimate Iron Men, which is fairly interesting. The Void Knight equipment includes the following pieces. We've got the Void Knight gloves, robe top, robe bottom, and 3 different helmets. There is a Void Knight's mace and seal, but they're more like completionist items. They have some niche effects, but it doesn't make any difference in terms of getting your Void gear, as they are not needed for the gear bonuses. There's a helmet for each attack style. You have range, melee, and magic. As long as you're wearing 3 other pieces of Void gear with one of these helmets, they're going to give you really good damage bonuses. The range gear is the most useful, but the melee one is very strong too. A Void Mage isn't bad, but even Arms is usually going to outdamage it, so it's the least popular of the 3 options. If you're looking for one whole set of Void, you're going to need 850 points, which is about 8.5 hours at that 100 points average. If you want to buy all of the helmets, you're going to need a total of 1250 points, which is now 12.5 hours on average. Obviously, you don't need to buy multiple robes and gloves for multiple helmets. All you have to do is switch helmets to switch attack styles. For those who have completed the Western Hard Province Diaries, you can upgrade your Void Knight robes to Elite Void. Only the robe top and bottom though, not the gloves or the helmets. The Elite Void gives +3 prayer bonus for each piece, and if you have both Elite pieces, then you're going to get a 2.5% damage bonus in magic and range. This is going to cost you 200 points per piece, adding 400 to the previous total, which means for all Void items and full Elite, you need 1,650 points, which is 16 to 17 hours of pest control. Pest control is often not liked by most players, and it sounds like a lot of hours, but realistically, it's not a lot of hours for how good the gear is. At high range levels, Void range is very similar to Armadillo gear when it comes to how much damage you're doing, and at times it's even better. The Armadillo top and bottom cost a combined 72 mil at the time I'm making this video. If you had 17 hours to make 72 mil, you would need to make 4.2 mil an hour, which is a lot of money. Keep in mind those 17 hours at pest control would get you really good range, melee, and pretty good magic gear, not just really good range gear. So compared to your other high level options, Void's going to take a lot less time to obtain. That's going to wrap up this video, everybody. I do hope you got some helpful information or just enjoyed in general. If you did, be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more content. If you have any questions or tips for pest control of your own, be sure to leave those in the comments section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I do stream a lot of my Runescape content on Twitch, and I have a Twitter and a Discord, which all links are in the description. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and best of luck with your pest control grind.